Hello, you lovely millions of people I'm making this video for, but only 5 of you will watch this and 1 of you will rewatch it 6 to 10 times. Today I will be tackling a very common subject discussed on YouTube, which of all the pocket monsters are my favorite. So in case the title and the script so far couldn't give it out to you, this is all my personal opinion. Knowing opinions are always controversial, it's hard to agree with anything I'm going to say. And since I finally got my hands on Ultra Sun, I got to play through it. I'm still in the middle of the Rainbow Rocket episodes, since I decided to take a short break and do other stuff, such as this video. Oh yeah, and don't worry, at least 2 Pokemon from every generation will be on this list, so you won't need to worry. 2 Pokemon from your favorite generation will be somewhere on here. And with all that out of the way, let's get the video started, shall we? Here are my top 20 favorite Pokemon as of Generation 7's peak. Let's take this off with the nice region of Alola, home to my favorite Pokemon games. Might I say, Generation 7 had some great Pokemon, and so we shall take a look at one of them. I used this Pokemon in my playthrough of Ultra Sun, after rejecting it off my Sun team. This is the Bug and Fairy type Ribombee. Ribombee is a Pokemon which at first sight doesn't look like a threat at all. But once it sets up a quiver dance, you're in for trouble. And if she sets up 2, make it double, I guess? A generally decent design, nothing too special though, but it stood out to me a bit. But what makes it really stand out of all the Alolan Pokemon is that Ribombee has the highest speed stat out of all the non-legendary, mythical, and ultra beasts. But besides that, nothing else really makes it stand out too much, so that's why I can only go so far on the list. One problem is the fact that Moonblast for it is just an egg move, meaning it needs to be born with the move in order to know it. This makes it a lot less of a threat if you're just a casual player. However, this shouldn't bother competitive players too much since they can get egg move no problem. I don't mind myself getting egg moves on Pokemon, but it can be unfun sometimes. But despite it all, Ribombee is still one of my favorites. But I guess I can't put it much higher on the list since I don't have much experience with one. I guess it's cute though. Now we're going way back to Johto, where the next Pokemon will be located. It's a Pokemon who's appealed to me a little in the past, but I just kept skipping over it. I kinda just jumped over it, however, even after all that, it still came hopping back. And if the obvious jokes I said didn't give it away, well, it's Jumpluff. Time for a little story attached to this Pokemon. Back in the days of Pokemon X, I felt like taking a stroll around Kalos, walking around through every single route and just looking at the lovely scenery, running into wild Pokemon, finding hidden items, in case I missed them. And it turns out I accidentally jumped a shiny on that day. That was Hoppip. So yeah, it felt special to me. I leveled it up, evolved it, and now it's a Jumpluff, which is even nicknamed Jumpluff. I personally have never been a fan of shiny Pokemon. However, because this was my first shiny, it felt a bit special. Even if I honestly didn't want one, it's still going to be a favorite. I've also seen some nice videos of showing Jumpluff's true potential in battle, and that made me lucky that I've ever found one. Let's head off to Sinnoh now, as we look at the final evolution of some of the old Pokemon from before. Back in Pokemon X again, I wanted to try to train a competitive team, which completely failed because I didn't know how IVs and EVs worked back then, and only months later did I get this perfect IV data on order trade, and I decided to use it for my own benefit. I trained a very mediocre team, the team being Pikachu, Larion, Azumarill, Garchomp, Staraptor, and Frostlass. Now I had a Pikachu as beyond me, probably because he's the mascot or something, but these 6 members, either way, were still fun to use. But the only one that I will be covering here is the one we know as the Ice and Ghost type everyone loves, or at least I think. Frostlass in general is very fun to use in battle. I tend to like some ice types quite a lot, honestly. But since this is a top 20 and not a top 100 because that would take months to make, most of them couldn't make the cut. But Frostas is definitely a favorite of mine. A nice design and decent stats, having a 110 speed, and everything else is under 81. But hey, it looked powerful to me at the time, so deal with it. But I guess if you land an ominous wind and get a stat boost, then you're probably safe. And sadly, Frostas suffers from every single same issue as every ice type in existence, being weak to 4 types and only resisting itself, with the addition of Ghost adding in 2 more weaknesses. But it does counter fighting, so that gives it only 5 weaknesses, but I haven't run into many of those while using it, so I've been pretty much saved. Still had a lot of fun using Frostlass before, and I still like it, despite me not using it anymore, which is why it's number 18. I will be completely honest right off the bat, I'm in the same train as people who dislike a lot of Generation 5 Pokemon. However, I'm not on the same train as them at the same time because I think that the ones that do look great were done splendidly well. Sue me, dislike me, and hate me all you want, but the next pick is a very infamous one. Being a fan of inanimate object Pokemon, I at least want them to be done well. Not simply just taking a Pokeball and putting pissed off eyes on it, going back home with a $300 check because you're out of ideas. I want them to be inspiring in a way. But there's somehow a certain charm that comes from my pick being the much hated ice cream Pokemon. Oh look, it's an ice cream with a face on it. Oh look, it's a bigger ice cream with a bigger face on it. Oh look, a double scooped ice cream with 2 faces on it. Why would anybody like this Pokemon evolution? Game Freak is clearly running out of ideas. Well, if that's the case, then why do you like Voltorb, Geodude, or Diglett? And their uninspiring evolutions. I tend to often like a lot of unpopular Pokemon, to be honest. Vanillix seems to be one of them somehow. Although, one thing that made me a fan of it was trying to train one. Once I was finished Pokemon Sun, I decided to train a whole bunch of different teams, one at a time. To train Pokemon I've never trained before. Vanillix caught my eyes, and you know, despite also suffering from the same problem as every single other ice type, I still felt like it. I absolutely enjoy using the move Acid Armor and watching its defense burst through the roof. My love for this sweet treat is purely because of having used one, and because if nobody else will love it, then I will. It's also an ice cream cone, so that just makes it a whole lot better. Fossil Pokemon are usually forgotten by me, since I don't exactly go out of my way to get a fossil resurrected from the dead. I trained it to fight other monstrous creatures for me, because it probably wants to enjoy life instead of fighting for me. Plus, they aren't Ike, they won't fight for their friends. But you know, ever since I knew this Pokemon was a thing, I knew I needed one. And it's without a doubt my favorite fossil Pokemon. And yet again another Generation 5 Pokemon is in this slot. I did mention there were going to be quite a few, right? Well, moving along, can you guess which one it is? Well, you only have 2 options, so I don't think it's that stressing, right? Let me give you a hint, it's weak to electric. Right, they're both weak to electric. Well, I guess I can also say the move Freeze Dry is super effective on it. Oh wait, it's super effective on both. Right. Screw it, it's Archeops. This rock-flying beast, Archeops, is the only reason I even realized fossil Pokemon were a thing. Before they were just ordinary and insignificant Pokemon to me. Except Lord Helix will be forever known as a garden. If you do not agree, then you can burn into the depths of hell. I've always loved it from day one. It's cool, majestic, it's derpy as a 3D model, and it hits like a truck. A monstrous 140 attack stat, with also having a super dang good speed to add some more insult to injury. Here's a tip to use Archeops. Max attack, max speed, and rock slide everyone. And to add on to this, give it a Citrus Berry to hold, watch its HP go below half, watch it restore its HP, then use Acrobatics, and watch it demolish those pesky grass and fighting types like their relevance is worthless to his presence. But all in all, Archeops is my favorite fossil Pokemon and will always hold a special place in my heart. or just a Pokeball it originally came from. Oh yeah, couldn't possibly forget about the original Pokemon games. Being red and blue, and green, and yellow. Game Freak? Can we get Pokemon Orange and Purple, please? Those two colors feel so lonely. Or heck, Pokemon Cyan or Pokemon Indigo would work too. But anyways, this Pokemon doesn't seem to be too famous among the community, since other water types seem to be much more preferred. But to give you my honest opinion, I think Starmie is really great. Starmie, just like Archeops, is also a favorite of mine because I started training it. Not sure what it is about Starmie, but there's something about it that I've always loved. Such as its design, its decent stats, but something's been keeping me from having it on basically every single team I've had in Pokemon so far, because I've never taken Starmie into consideration, until I decided to train one. And I must say, Starmie is not disappointing. It's an amazing type like Water and Psychic. You've got loads of options with it. Although for sure, where Starmie falls short is probably because I have other water types I prefer over it, in which those will be discussed later. So I will be honest, I don't like Legendaries either, since I much rather ordinary Pokemon that evolve. But this is probably the first Pokemon I've ever seen in my life, back when I was a kid, that made me want to get into the series. Except Pikachu, but I think we all know who Pikachu is. Generation 4 makes a comeback as one of their legendaries, mythical, whatever the heck you people call them nowadays. Do I care? I don't think I've ever liked any other Pokemon for this long, so this makes it a very special Pokemon. And having two forms, I love it. And one of them can fly. Wait, what? Giratina? No, I was talking about Shaman. It's a fluffy bush with a flower in it. Enough said. I have always loved it, but when it comes to its Sky form, that is where all of it is at its finest. I adore Shaman's Sky form. The Land form has 100 across the board, which makes it a very well-rounded Pokemon, whereas the Sky form has a lost in defense in exchange for a big buff in speed and special attack, and a mini 3 attack just for good measures. In general, Shaman is the first Pokemon that ever got me into the series, so it needs the recognition it deserves. Let's jump right back into Unova, because, you know, the next pick might seem very unpopular, but it's my personal preference. What can I say? This pick is partially because of the anime and Ash having one, but hey, if that helps me pick one out, then it must be kinda good, right? There was a strong presence of fighting types this generation, but almost all of them came out very unappealing to me, leaving little to none to these large-numbered fighting types that actually stand out to me. But today, we're making the hoodlums stand out of that crowd. Scraggy seemed like a cool Pokemon at first. Being a clumsy and shy little Pokemon, it couldn't possibly be evil and tough, right? Well, once I found out what it evolved into after playing Pokemon Black and White myself, I was pretty excited. I did replay Pokemon White months ago, and I tried to do a playthrough with Scrafty, and it hasn't let me down once. Though it suffers from the same problem as many other Pokemon when they're brought into the 6th generation, that it's 4 times weak to Fairy, the newly introduced type in Generation 6. I'm a big fan of Fairy type Pokemon, but it's sad how sometimes stuff like this can happen. But besides that, it's still good in combat. With a rather good 115 defense and special defense distribution, and having a mediocre attack of 90, I say anything above 85 is good, so to me Scrafty is still very good. Just don't let it wander around places with fairies, okay? Dragon-type Pokemon are powerful, and most of them end up being a pseudo-legendary with a base stat of 600, making them nothing to want to mess with. In fact, most of them have big attack and speed stats, quickly sweep away teams like a parent sweeping away the dust with a broom when visitors are about to arrive and the house is still dirty. So yeah, it's obvious I would have used one before, but which one is my favorite? Glad you asked.
Garchomp probably would have made it on here if it weren't for Goodra, but I prefer Goodra all around though. Though I'm not normally a fan of mono-type Pokemon, and Goodra sadly only a share of Dragon. That's it. Normally that wouldn't bother me, but Goodra could have easily been a Dragon Poison. It's a way better defensive and offensive type, resisting 7 types and being weak to 4. And potentially being immune to Grass with the Sapsifer ability on it. Now, I get it that Dragalge got the type instead, which is probably for the best, considering he has a stat total of 494 rather than 600, which would help it out in battle a lot, but that doesn't stop Goodra from being a water dragon, right? But with that pushed aside, Goodra is honestly still my favorite dragon type, despite having the bland typing of only dragon. With an insane 150 special defense and a special attack of 110, this thing is proper on the special side. The physical side is a bit rusty, but not to the point it makes it bad. A defense of 70 makes it a mediocre tanky Pokemon, so if yours dragon types the most, considering Fair usually dishes out special moves rather than physical, same for Ice. Goodra takes a bit of a different take on dragons, and I admire that in Pokemon. And hey, it's cute too. Man, Alola, it's been a while. Sorry to keep you waiting. But now we give one of your little Pokemon a turn to shine. And one that I'm sure that everyone on here just doesn't like, sadly. Want someone to hate on? Here we go. Hate on me all you want. People aren't a fan of this design, but I beg to differ. This is my favorite design out of all Alolan Pokemon. First time seeing it, I wanted one badly. Turtonator looks so cool and tough, and sadly is a bit confusing to use. It has great physical bulk at a total of 135, which this alone looks great, but then you look at its HP of 60. This makes it a bit underwhelming. Luckily, most of its weaknesses are physical mainly. Its biggest fear being Power Gem, Earth Power, and Draco Meteor, which isn't nothing for an 85 base special defense to take those hits. That's not where it ends. You look at its attacking stats, 78 attack and 91 special attack, and that's all. Then a speed of 36 to run with. For a tough looking Pokemon like this, it should have higher stats. Looking through this, it doesn't seem like it'd be a threat in any way, right? Well, it's not exactly weak. Despite this, you can still trick some people a little bit by setting up with a Protect, and then going for a Shell Trap if they're using a physical move on you. And with the addition of Move Tutor in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you can even teach Stomping Tantrum, so just in case it misses, you can use that move instead. So just in case it misses, you're going to have a 150 power move to use afterwards. Oh, and also teach it Dragon Pulse as well, just to have the same type attack bonus move, or stab move as people call it. But anyways, that's about all I have to say about Turtonator. I really like it, honestly.